Good morning and welcome back to the Board Summit. I'm delighted to introduce our next session, Identifying the Gaps, a chair's perspective of the most in-demand skills. Our moderator today will be Rachel Pether. Rachel.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Diana. And before I begin, I want to thank Sheikh Shama bint Sultan bin Khalifa Al Nahyan and Diana Wild for their tireless efforts on this initiative. I remember when it was just a seed of an idea, and to see it come to fruition like this is testament to all your hard work and passion, so thank you. A few housekeeping items before I introduce Mishal Kanoo. We want this to be as interactive as possible, so please don't wait until the end to send in your questions. Just send them in as they occur to you under the Ask Your Questions on the left side of the screen. Mishal and I had a conversation yesterday and he emphasised how important this was to him. We do not want you walking away with any unanswered questions in your mind, and we've actually already had a number of questions come in from the audience already, so thank you so much for those. You can also select the clap icon on the bottom right of your screen to show your support for the discussion. And if you're experiencing any technical issues, please ask a question via the help icon on the left menu or under the Q&A section to the left of the screen, and a member of the technical team will assist you. And finally, a recording of this session will be available on the Aurora 50 website next week. So now for our guest today, Mishal Kanoo. He is one of the most iconic business figures in the Middle East, and to list his achievements would dominate this entire hour. So please excuse me, Mishal, for paraphrasing some of your achievements. Mr. Kanoo currently serves as the chairman of the Kanoo Group, one of the largest, longest running and independently family-owned groups of companies in the Gulf region. The family has always been associated with the progress and development of the region, combined with a sense of philanthropy. Mishal is also a professional speaker and a motivational speaker. He's published in business journals on a regular basis, and he holds chief positions as chairman or director of various companies, including AXA Insurance Gulf, Gulf Capital, KHK and Partners Limited, Delma Capital, Johnson Arabia LLC, and CAF Investments. In terms of education, Mishal has not one but two MBAs, one in finance from the University of St. Thomas in Texas, and one from the American University of Sharjah. The excitement of helping others achieve their professional dreams, big or small, is what drives him. So Mishal, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Rachel, for highly, I don't know what's the word to use. I feel humbled by what you said. Thank you very much. And I also like to thank Her Highness and Diana and all the people who helped organize this thing, because I think the subject and the issue of pushing, and I think this is the right word, but pushing women in the forefront is an important issue that until recently has been getting more lip service than reality. And we need to change that. We need to make it into something that is part and parcel of what happens on the ground rather than just, aspirational talk.
I couldn't agree more. And we've actually had some audience questions coming in on that lip service point. So we'll address those a little bit later as well. Now, the title of this is Identifying the Gaps, a chair's perspective of the most in-demand skills. But perhaps before we actually discuss what you see some of those biggest gaps in terms of skill sets required, let's begin by looking at what actually makes an effective board. And then we can dive deeper into any cultural challenges. So in your view, what makes an effective board and what type of people do you need?
There is a concept I was talking specifically about what I see in the region, because I think that's where I have a lot more strength in terms of knowledge. But there is a mindset that the chairman runs the show. The chairman directs everything, and the chairman, from him, and it's usually him, everything stems from him. And whatever he directs things, people will go along. And when he doesn't like something, it can be subtle or it can be very blatant in terms of saying, I don't like this. And people usually bend towards whatever the chairman wants. I think that's not the right direction if you want to have a very successful and effective board. one of the things you need to have are strong board members, people who are willing to challenge, people who are willing to stand up and say, I don't like this, and not as an opinion, but I don't like this because of A, B, C. I mean, these are the reasons behind why I think this is not going to work, or why this is not to. You don't have a chaotic board, as in everyone has an opinion and everyone sticks to his opinion and you're fighting with everyone. No, but you want to have people who are able to say, based on my knowledge, based on this research, based on something, this doesn't make sense. You might want to look at it in a different way. We might want to look at, take the different approach. We might want to look at this aspect or that aspect rather than say, yes, whatever you like. So having strong characters and strong people on the board is actually a very positive thing. And what makes a successful leader successful is the ability he or she has to bring people on board. And if you don't mind, I'm going to give a small little story that I learned when I was doing my MBA in the US, and that's 1993, and it stuck with me. The story goes, there was a man with his young son. They were walking in China, and they saw what looked like a very important person sitting down and a lot of men huddling around him. And the son looks at the father and says, "Who's that?" And the father says, "Oh, that's the Emperor of China." The son goes, "Oh, so he must be the bravest man in China." The father goes, "No." He must be the smartest man in China. No. He must be the best archer. No. He must be the best swordsman. No. He must be the best philosopher. No. He must be the best poet. No. So the son's looking and going, well, he's not the best archer. He's not the most intelligent. He's not this. He's not that. He's not this. How is he the Emperor of China? And the father's response was, he is the hub that allows all the spokes to function. And this is the key to allow, if you want to have a very good board, the job of the chairman or chairperson is to be the hub that allows all the spokes to function. And in order for the spokes to function, the spoke has to be able to stand up to the test. And the hub does not take, should not take. If you want a good board, the hub, the chairperson, should not take things personally, as in you're attacking me or my idea, but rather say, you know what, that's a good idea. Let's delve into it more. Let's discover it. I like it, even if it goes 180 degrees away from what I'm saying, because there are times when I should allow the people who are professional in what they do to have their voice, heard, and for me to be, we have a saying in Arabic, wide-chested, meaning that you are willing to absorb a lot, even though it goes 180 degrees from where you want to go. But that other party's voice might actually, opinion might actually be better for the company than yours. So if you're looking for the type of characteristics that any board should have, irrespective of gender, it should be you want to have a strong leader who's not just opinionated leader, but a strong leader who's open to the idea that other people can voice their opinion, but you also have to have the other board members who are there to voice their opinion. But if they're not willing to voice their opinion and just rubber stamp everything the chairman says or the chairperson says, then it becomes a waste of time. And you really don't need the board other than for superficial reasons to show that, oh, look, I have a board.
I love that hub and spoke story. And I think it's interesting what you say about surrounding yourself with people who are willing to speak their mind. But, you know, we see countless examples, and not just in this culture, but where candor or assertiveness isn't always rewarded. You know, if you look at US politics, for example, you disagree with the president and next day you have a resignation letter on your desk. So how do you create this type of culture where people are actually empowered to speak their mind and not always just be a yes man or yes woman?
There was a caricature which I think is appropriate for this discussion. And I'm sorry, I don't have the caricature with me, but it goes something along the lines. There's a board table and a board member sitting over there, and the chairman asks a question, and the young board member stands up and says, in my honest opinion, and the headline under says, this is how they weed out the weak. The idea is, we don't want you to say your opinion. That's how, unfortunately, a lot of boards function. We don't want you to give your opinion. We want to tell you what to do and you to rubber stamp it. if you want to have an effective board, look, all you have to do is look at companies who have effective leaders, the effective leaders and those people who are around them. First, the ideal way of understanding whether the person is effective or not is the results of the company in terms of is he or she getting the people, what you call, moving in the direction they should be going. It doesn't have to be necessarily a year-to-year result, but it's looking at the long-term trend. 1. 2, who has he or she put as a successor or is grooming for a successor? And you can see from the successor whether this person is going to be able to not necessarily follow in his or her footsteps, but rather take the mantle of being the leader and taking it forward, because that's important. If you have a company that doesn't have succession planning or doesn't talk about successors and doesn't introduce succession, and succession doesn't mean, oh, I like you, I'm going to choose you. No. There are certain characteristics you're looking for as a successor. Then the next step is, okay, while you might have those characteristics, what am I doing as the leader for you to reach that point? Am I helping you by putting you in awkward, and I know this sounds strange, but I need to put you in awkward situations. I need to put you in hard situations to test your method. And yes, if you fail, that's fine. You learn. The key is I'm choosing somebody who can fail, and we do allow him or her to fail. Again, there's failure and failure. I mean, a small failure is where a person learns. A massive failure is an issue. But you do tell them you can learn, you can try, you can test. And oh, by the way, if you need professional, what you call it, help in terms of consultants, find them. If you need to go to get an education, go get that education you do. Give them a bit of freedom, trust them. You can do one of two things as a leader. You can either treat your flock, for lack of another way of putting it, as that's exact. By the way, I'm using that term with a lot of consideration. If you look at your body as a flock, then that's what they are, sheep. But if you look at them as these are intelligent adults, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to try to prove yourself, try to grow yourself, and whatever you need to help you grow into whatever you want to do, this is what is an effective leader. I need people to not feel that they have to agree with everything I say. I need them to feel that they can voice. I need them to be able to not necessarily challenge. You know, the biggest, and I'm going to talk from a gender bias, what you call it, position, and forgive me on this one, but this is the way it works for me. I'm not a woman, I can't tell it. I don't know how it's like for women. So, but from a man's perspective, there is a tipping point between the father and son. And an effective leader is a father who prepares the child to that position, prepares the son to that position. I'm not talking from a business perspective, I'm talking from a male perspective. Prepares the son for that position, and eventually prepares the son so that he takes over whatever the father's doing. From a business, you can argue the same thing for whether it's a male or female. You prepare your child for that position, give them the education, give them the testing, give them the experience, everything. But when they're ready, don't take your time and theirs, but rather say, okay, I've reached the point, I step back, and I act as an ambassador. My job would be to help support you. Go, try, do. If you need my help, I am here. That's what an ambassador does. I'm here to help you, to give you my experience, my knowledge. I'm here to help you open doors and fix things. But at the end of the day, your decision becomes your decision. If I can do that for my children, then I should be able to also do that within my company, because I need to be able to prepare somebody for that position, and not when I am 90 years old and my child is 70 years old, say, okay, now you can come take over the business. It doesn't work.
No, that's a great point. And there have been some questions coming in from the audience, which I think tie into this. So I'll just address a couple of those now. And this goes back to your point on culture. And it says culture can be a sensitive barrier in affecting this type of change at board level. Are there any tips on how to manage culture changes, which is difficult to influence? But maybe you could talk about that as well from within the family perspective and not just at the board level.
Yes, the key for any change comes from the person, him or herself. This is where the key comes from, both from the senior and the junior. You can't have one without the other. For the senior, he or she should say should be talking to the junior and saying, I'm giving you space, I'm giving you breathing space, I'm giving you an opportunity to think and go and do and explore, and then come back to me. Because at the end of the day, I'm still the authority, you're not, because I'm the senior and you're the junior. You need to do that. From the junior's perspective, if I'm given an opportunity to do these things, to take it. Not to rely on somebody else to do that for me. That's the problem is, there's a lot of people relying on others to do things rather than say, okay, you know what? I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go discover. I'm going to go learn. I'm going to try. And by the way, in terms of the best example I can give in terms of what I have seen, at least in a public sphere, of where a effective leader comes in to change mentality in the last, say, 10, 15 years that I can, off the top of my head. You've seen here in the UAE, specifically here in the UAE, from the government, where either Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed or Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, both of them take the effective role of saying, I want more women to come on board and to give them, okay, let's say some of them initially might not be, would not have been the most qualified person, but you're giving them enough confidence to learn, to try, to do, and to become. And if they are not the ones who are under them are looking and saying, if she can reach that height, so can I. And I will need to do better than the previous one has done. And that's the motivation that helps churn things. Even within families, you have the same thing. You want to have people saying the father or the mother. And by the way, the most important person in a family structure, the dynamics of family structure, I know people might think it's the father. It's not, it's the mother, because the family revolves around the mother. If the mother gives and I'm talking specifically about girls in this case, but if the mother gives the daughter the confidence to go out and challenge the world, she will. If she tells her to be demure and quiet, she'll learn that. Even if her characteristic is a rebellious characteristic, but she will learn that that's not the right thing to do. I need not the fathers, not the husbands, but I need the mothers more than anyone else to look at the young women and say to, actually young girls, we start off with what you call it a young age, and say, go, try, test, see. I'm here to protect you. I'm here to guide you, but go out and try and test. You're building up her confidence. You're building up her knowledge base. She starts thinking it's possible. The other thing is, I also think we shouldn't be we shouldn't have a gender-biased mindset in terms of saying to our girls, these are the limited professions that you can do. Why? Some of them you might not naturally want, but that's your choice. It shouldn't be a directive from the family to do that. It's not exactly what you call it. I wouldn't be thrilled if my daughter decides she wants to drive a tractor. I wouldn't be thrilled if my son wants to drive a tractor. But the idea is that, can she do it? The answer is yes. She should be able to do it. She should, if she wants to go and learn how to drive a tractor, she should be able to go and learn how to drive a tractor. That I shouldn't limit that aspect of it. And to tell her, you know what, the sky's the limit. As long as you're doing certain things which are acceptable to yourself, your family values, your religious values, you're not what you call it causing, there are disruptions you need to cause, but there are other disruptions you don't want to cause because they go against everything that we hold dear to us. Again, not to limit things, but to say, okay, if you want to be an astronaut, fine. You want to travel to get an education, fine. Again, you're trying to say, you know what, let's find what things are. I don't want to cause, I'm not advocating a causing of a social upheaval. Anything that comes as a revolution fails. It flares up, has an effect, and it fails. But everything that evolved over time so that when I've come up with a new idea, and then you give the people who are interacting with this idea time to absorb the idea Then I can take the next step and then bring him along, and then take the next step and bring him along. But if I try to push an idea that goes completely against their ethos, their moral, their social norms, etc., I can assure you it's going to collapse. So the idea is give our daughters as much encouragement as we give our sons. Tell them to try, reach for the stars, go for it. Don't, what you call, restrict yourself in that aspect. Do what you think is best for you. Do what you think is best for your family. Do what you think is best for your society, for your community, and start. This is the hard part. Start. We talk a lot, and I'm sorry, I'm doing the talking at this point. We talk a lot, but the question is, I don't want to just talk. I want to act. Talking is important because I need to put the plan. But once I put the plan, I need to act. And if I fail, come back, look at the plan I've done. Could I have changed a bit, something here, make it better? I can learn from that and move on again.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I can't remember actually who said this quote, but it was, you don't need to be great to start, but you need to start to be great. And I think that sort of, you know, that trial and error, that really comes down to, I think, the underlying confidence as well, which ties into what you were saying before about speaking your mind. And how do you think that you can kind of teach confidence? It again starts with the family, in that family environment. And what about the education system? How can you see that all supporting, instilling young, you know, boys and girls with the assertiveness and confidence?
I hope that the educational system in the whole region is moving towards a more mind-based rather than memory-based education. Meaning I want to see what you can think of, what you can do, what ideas come from your head. And the more the teachers get the students to come on board in these aspects, the more likely he or she, as a child, is going to expand his or her horizon. The more we teach our kids to mimic or to parrot everything we do, the more likely that that's exactly what the type. I'm sorry to say that, but I don't plant an apple seed and expect an orange tree. It just doesn't work. If I want people to be to change and to move and to be creative and to be thought provocative and to engage and to be part and parcel of society, then I start from the beginning. I don't start towards the end. You can, it's called grafting, but still, you want to start from the beginning because that's where you put the proper seeds in there. The problem is, be aware that this is Pandora's box. The moment Pandora's out of the box, you can't put her back in. So if I get a person who, if I encourage my child to be creative and to be thought provocative and to challenge me, and I can't, if they come up with something I really don't like, I can't say, I don't like this, stop. Because I'm telling them, do that. For X number of years, I've told them, do that. And then when something that really affects me in ways that I can't stand the challenge, I tell them to stop. Now, throughout the purpose of a parent, the parent acts as a guardian, a protector, but also acts as a mentor. And the job of the mentor, so the guardian and the protector, I think is an obvious understanding. But as far as the mentor is concerned, the job is to take the child and say, okay, challenge me, but here's your limit. Expand the limit, stop. Expand the limit, stop. And I'm trying to teach the child what is acceptable for us as a society. Because again, I can't come and say, all of a sudden, forget everything that society is throwing at us and do whatever you want. That's chaos. That's chaotic. It has to be, again, gradual so that the society can come in and accept whatever changes are happening. But it has to be action. It has to move. It actually has a snowball effect. The moment we start moving these things, it will start to grow and it will be something very positive. The key for me, and I know this is a subject what you call it, that you might be touching upon, is those who just say this because it looks good, so like a rubber stamp. Yeah, I've done that. And those who actually really care about this. And for me, I need, and as I mentioned to you this before, it's incredibly important for me to change the environment positively, because I have 2 daughters, and I want them to grow up in an environment which says, we expect more from you, we want you to do more, and we want you to build and to be part and parcel of society, and not to, what you call it, just find yourself into, find a small hole and dig yourself in there. So I cannot have people who just give lip service without actually following up. I want more people to follow up rather than just talk. Just to give you, to show this, how important this is to me, the best advice I get usually comes from my wife and my sister, who actually works with me. And every once in a while, my young daughters give me new ideas and new thoughts, as well as my sons. But just here the emphasis is on my daughters at this point, because I want them to feel that they are part and parcel of the change. Because if they don't feel it, if they think that they're second-class citizens, that's exactly how they're going to react. And I don't want that to be the case.
We do actually, I think, when you were talking about that before, there were some questions coming in about fake advocates of diversity, which I think you were touching on. We had a question, and I'll link 2 together because they're related. What can we do to address fake advocates of diversity, men that purport to support diversity publicly, but privately do everything possible to undermine progress? How do we ensure that they walk the talk?
You can't. I'm sad to say, whatever is a person's intention is his or her intention. In this case, it's his intention. It's within. I can't change a person when you call it intention. Usually, a dramatic thing that has to happen in his or her. Again, I'm focusing because it's him. Something dramatic has to happen in his life that he will be. He would want to do that change. You can't change a person if they don't want to change. The key for me is I'd rather have those who don't want and are open about it, rather than those who have this Janus approach, two-faced, show you one face and inside, what you call it, hiding another face. I don't like that, because then I don't know how to interact with them. If I give them the benefit of the doubt, it'll take a while before I discover what type of personality I'm interacting with. And this is usually a very destructive method. I'd rather a person says, you know what, if I don't like this, tell me, that's fine. You can have your slice of the society where in your part of society, you don't want to do that, that's fine, you do that. You keep on doing that. I will grow, I will benefit, and you won't, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But I do have a problem when people say, oh yes, I'm supportive of this and it's a great idea, and does absolutely nothing about it. They are the type of people who, actually, I wish it was, if they did nothing about it, actually, that wouldn't be so bad. It's when they go out of their way to try to create pitfalls for those who go against their idea, because they feel that if I can't succeed, you shouldn't succeed either. But the quick and easy answer is, you can't change people's intent. You can help them if they want to be helped. You can show them if they want to see. But if they don't want to be helped, they don't want to see, there's really not much you can do about it.
That's a great point. And I guess that comes down to authenticity of intention. I'd be interested to hear, you mentioned when you were talking about education, some of the mind skills or soft skills. In the various boards that you work on, obviously these skills are in demand, but do you see a gap here? And, what other skills are you seeing that are particularly in demand on boards where there may be gaps?
That's a very difficult question, because you're assuming people want to have an effective board.
That's my base case assumption, yes.
For those companies who want to have an effective board, they focus on trying to find the most productive, interesting, strong-willed people. That's what they try to do. What the idea is, I'm confident. Having a strong board comes back to the issue of how confident am I in myself. If I am confident in myself, I am sure of myself, meaning I don't mean to be arrogant, but I'm sure in terms of what I've done, what I can do, what my position is. I'm not afraid of listening to other people counter what I say. I'm not afraid of people telling me different ideas than what I'm saying, because I have this feeling internally. I know what I'm talking about. My experience has taught me that. My knowledge has taught me that. I know what I'm talking about. I'm not right 100%. No one is right 100% of the time. But those people who don't want people who challenge them, they usually are very small-minded people. I don't care how big the pompous surrounding them. They're very small-minded people. They look and say, you know what, this guy is going to challenge me. This is going to take my job. He's going to take my position. He's trying to push me out. And I'm thinking, you know what, if you're good enough to come and take over what I'm doing, and you prove that you're good enough to come take over what I'm doing, and I was saying, it comes to my piece. I want you to do that. I don't want people to come and say, you know what, I'm going to sit on this chair forever. This is the worst thing you could do. Because if by a strange osmosis, the moment my posterior sits on a chair, it weaves itself, the cells weave themselves between the chair and my backside, then there's a problem in the board. I want to have, I need to feel that I'm on the hot seat. I need to improve myself. But I also need to see the other party is good enough to come and take over. If he or she is good enough to come and take over, I should be happy. If I'm a shareholder, again, splitting between ownership and management. If I'm a shareholder and I'm the best there is, until somebody comes in who's better than I am, as a shareholder, I should say, you know what? My shareholding position, come and take my place, because you move the company in a higher position than I will be able to. That's the mindset that should be the case. But again, when you come across small-minded people who are looking and thinking, well, he takes over, I lose my social position, I lose my income, I lose my status in society. That's what they start thinking. And this is weird for me. This is weird. I want people to say, you know, if I expect my position in society is what people tell me is my position in society, I have a problem. It's an internal problem. If I'm afraid of losing a bit of money here on the gains of having a larger, what you call it, sum of money as a shareholder, I'm being very selfish, restricting the company from its growth potential that should happen, because I care about me and not the company and all the shareholders in it and all the stakeholders in it. But again, this is to do with a person being either small-minded or being confident in himself or herself that they don't really care. I don't care that somebody else challenges me, because I want them to come and challenge me and take over. That should be the whole point. You chair something, and I watch this. People that chair something for X number of years, and when I say X number of years, let's say 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, and you go, what? When I was a student, the biggest technological breakthrough was a PC. Now we're talking the internet, not even the internet, it's e-commerce via the internet and via your smartphone. Should I be the chairman of the company from that time till now? I don't have the ability. If I'm the best person to run a business, I run it for a while, and then I find my successor, and then let my successor run the thing. But if I'm small-minded, I will never want to create a successor, or I'll do this again, these false statements of saying, yes, he's the successor. And I never want to give him him or her any chance or any position, because I don't want them to come and take that place. This is the issue, that if you want to realize a successful company from an unsuccessful company, and it shouldn't be legally mandated. It should be part and parcel of the ethos of the company, of the people there. You know what? I'm good enough for the next 5 years, and after that, I'm out. I'm good enough for the next 10 years. After that, I'm out. We laugh from a political point of view. Currently, there's a country up north, I won't mention their name, whose leader is trying to extend his, even though he's been in power for the last 20 odd years, is trying to extend his power for another 20 odd years. Why? Why is he doing that? The reason is because he cares about himself rather than cares about the overall benefit of the country. We have a saying in Arabic, and I don't know how that translates, but the saying in Arabic is, ما فيها البلد إلا هالولد. It means that there's no other person in this country except this boy. There are many other leaders, there are many other people better than I am. I want them to come on board and take over and do a better job. I just want to benefit from it. That is key for me. I want to benefit from it. The more I can find the people who can do a better job, take the company or the country to a better height, I want them to come on board.
I think that Arabic saying translated beautifully, or the way you translated it into English was perfect. So thank you for that. There's just one more question that I do want to address before we talk about what you mentioned about sort of the quotas and things, having them in writing, but maybe not adhering to that. We have a question. Many women have been brought up with the principles of accepting everything and not expressing their mind, i.e. more of a passive personality. What recommendation do you have to those ladies who aspire to grow and break free from that passive personality mold? And can you please talk about the gaps and the skills that we need to develop?
Okay, in terms of the gaps and skills, it's hard because each person has a different, starts from a different position and wants to go to a different position. So it's very hard to be able to say that in terms of a general statement versus a very specific thing. You can see that. To answer the first part of that question, what can she do when faced in such a situation where she's been told to be demure and quiet? If her family doesn't support her, and I don't necessarily mean whether, be it husband, be it children less, because they will play a very small role initially, but be it husband, be it father, be it mother, be it sisters, be it brother, if they don't help her, if they don't surround her, because we are creatures of nature, creatures of habit, sorry. We will go and flock with people who are like us. So if I'm demure and quiet, the people I will surround myself, most of them will be exactly like me. And that doesn't help. I will feel unless the person really wants to challenge herself and go and find a crowd that's really rebellious, where she can be sucked into this idea and then start to do that. But is she willing then to go and encounter the situation, take that rebellious part and take it back to her family? Is she willing to do that? And I don't mean rebellious as in going, I hate you, I don't like you. No, I'm talking about challenging, talking, out of turn, that type of small little rebellions that help cause people to think, she's intelligent, she's smart. They might not initially say it, but in their head, they're thinking, that's an intelligent question. You also need to have, if I have a teacher, if I'm in a class and I have a teacher and the teacher thinks we're all dumb students, no matter what I say, he's always going, forgive me, but I think it's more likely he's always going to think I'm a dumb student, no matter what I do. I need to have a teacher that's nurturing. I need to have an environment that's nurturing. I need to find that environment. Now, to what degree are you willing to push yourself? I don't know. But if you're not, don't expect others to do it for you. It's not going to happen. I need to push myself. If someone wants to get, forgive me for using this expression, but if someone wants to get married, there are two ways of getting married. One, you ask people, more likely your mother, your father, find me a spouse. Two, You go and find a spouse yourself. If you expect your parents to do that for you and find you a spouse, then you should be happy with whatever they find for you, because you relied on them to do that for you. You gave up your power to them. That's fine. Don't argue. If the person turns out to be great, beautiful for you. If the person turns out to be a horrible person, too bad for you. You gave the power away. If you go and find your spouse, you know exactly what characteristics you're looking for. You know what to expect, what things, hopefully you're not superficial, but more substantial. If you look for the things that you want, you will find it. Maybe not immediately, but you will find it. Whatever happens after that is honest. The onus is on you, because you went out of your way to do something. If you give the power to somebody else, then somebody else will do with them whatever you want. If I expect the environment to change with me sitting, crossing my legs and saying, please change, please change, please change, it's never going to change. If I don't voice, if I don't move, again, I'm not talking about a violent, I'm talking subtle, intelligent ways of getting it done. The power of collective. If your father is a very, for example, if the father is a very domineering father, and there are siblings, and they all happen to be what you call girls, or a mix, and all the siblings turn to the father and say, we want more, in a nice way, we want a more voice in what happens in our lives. We want to talk about where we're going on vacation. So simple little things. What we're going to have for lunch, what time we meet. Simple little things. The pressure coming in from the father, coming into the father, will force him to adjust his position, because he knows they're not going to sit back and accept whatever I throw at them. Society is the same way. That was a microcosm. Just take society in the same way. If you want the change to happen, you be the change. And again, I'm not saying revolt. Revolutions don't work. But to subtly change, push, peer pressure. If your father doesn't listen to you, for example, your father has peers that he or she, looks up to, likes, cares about. Maybe they're much more open to the ideas you're talking about. Talk to them. That person will apply a lot of peer pressure onto your father, and the father changes because he wants to appease the other person. Fine, it's not the ideal situation, but at least you're getting the point, you're getting where you want to get to. I can't expect others to do things for me. I need to get up and do them myself. And if I see that these are things that are missing in my life, I need to do those changes. The skills that are required are simple. I need to do research. I need to study. I need to educate myself. I need to voice my opinion. I need to be prepared to go and backtrack on what I say if I'm wrong. I shouldn't have I shouldn't be arrogant to think my idea is the only right idea. I should be able to feel, again, I've forgotten this in a lot of what I said, but I should have empathy towards others. This is the key. I think a lot of people in business have lost. There's no empathy. I don't care what you think. You don't matter, I do. This is the mindset. We need to say, you know what? No, your opinion matters. I'm listening to it. I will tell you why I agree or I disagree. And you will tell me why you think what I'm saying is right or wrong. There's an empathy. I feel what you're going through, but I also want you to feel what I'm going through. You want me to feel your pain, you feel my pain. You want me to feel your joy, you feel my joy. And if there's no empathy between one another, and by the way, that's one of the biggest skills you can have. It's really lost in our business world. But if I can't empathize with you, what you're experiencing, and how much it hurts you, or how much it benefits you, you're never going to listen to me. Or you will hear me, but you won't listen to me.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that sometimes people confuse empathy with sympathy, but they're really two completely different things, aren't they? It's feeling with someone rather than feeling sort of for them.
The only caveat to that, and this is a sad note on where the humanity has gone. People, a lot, not everyone, but a lot of people make the mistake of thinking empathy and sympathizing with someone is a weakness. And therefore, I need to hit a person who's weak. rather than saying, you know what, I need to raise the person who's weak. I need to help them grow. You can see this in the capitalist, I'm not making a political statement here, but in the mindset that we have, where you have ultra billionaires and people starving because there is no empathy towards them, and you feel that because they are poor, they deserve it, or I can step on them. And the idea is, no, we need to bring them up with us. The more I can bring them up, the better they have a life, the better I have a life. I don't need, how many lunches can I have a day? How many clothes can I wear a day? How many of that, whatever can I do? Do I need that much, or can I give to someone? I'm not saying throw it away and give it to people who are undeserving, but there are others who are, because they are nice with you, because they're kind with you. And you can see this. And by the way, one of the things I between my wife and myself, we emphasize this a lot on our children. And I really get angry with my children, and so does my wife, if they don't say please and thank you. And I don't want them to say please and thank you as in this, verbatim, as let's say. No. To know that this person worked and did something for you, so you say thank you. And if you want something, they're not your slave. They are someone who's working for you, or working in a restaurant, or working, doing something for you. So you say, please, as in, could you help me? And that doesn't mean that you're weak. It means that you care for the other party, that the other party matters, the other party is a human, and the other party has dignity, and you give them that dignity. And if we can't understand that idea, you then have the disparity that you have, where people think, I can spend till I'm blue in the face, and the other people can die from hunger, starvation, who cares? I'm sorry, I want to...
That's true.
Sorry.
No, not at all. Manners cost nothing. I love what you said before about if you want something to change, be the change. And I'd just like to discuss a bit more about how we can make changes sustainable. We've had a question come in, which is, I learned that you build this bottom up while leading it top down, which ties back to what you said before. You need to hire, train, and retain the best talent from the groups you want to increase the presence of at the top. You don't force diversity at the top without meritocracy. This fires back. What do you recommend for the chairman and boards of today to do in order to drive sustainable diversity?
The questioner made a very important point. When we do quotas, and I'm sorry, I've never seen them work. I have never seen them work. Quotas can only work if you enforce them and police them. And that doesn't work, because the moment you stop policing them, it's like children. It's just like children. You can either convince the child to do something, or you can scream and shout at the child and be overbearing, and the child will do it while you're overbearing over them. And at the moment you go away, they're not doing it. If you want to convince someone to do something, first show them the way. That's key. Second, help them see what you're doing. Then give them the environment. Let them treat them, and now I'm not talking about children, but now I'm talking about adults. I need to treat an adult like an adult, irrespective of the gender. I need to treat the adult like an adult. So if I tell you, do this at this time, I'm the boss, you're so I'm the senior, you're the junior. I tell you, do this at this time. I expect you to do it at this time. I don't need to overlook you and come and see, are you doing it? I shouldn't. You should take full responsibility. One of the reasons I think I've been very lucky in terms of the people I've interacted with is when I started working initially, I come into an environment which is a very, my family business was a very old mindset in terms of a fear factor. I'm supervisors, people overlooking things. And then it dawned on me, I can either end wasting my time micromanaging people, or I can give people, treat them as adults, give them the KPIs, they perform on their KPIs, and get more and do more and get higher position. Don't do your KPIs once, twice, there's the door. I'm treating you as an adult. You do good, you deserve, to be upgraded. You do bad, you're given a chance, you do bad again, you're on your way. It sends a message to everyone. I need to take responsibility. See, the thing is, in a lot of environments, and a lot of boards, and a lot of companies, everyone wants the authority. They don't want the responsibility. I want to be able to dictate to you. Do this, do that. But what is my responsibility? What do I have? What am I responsible for as far as you're concerned? So if I tell you, do this and do that, it doesn't mean I'm sitting on my laurels and everything works the way I want it. No, I have to take care of you, your family, the people around you, your environment. That's my job, my responsibility towards you. If I have an authority over you, I have authority over my children. Does that mean I tell them, okay, so you're going to cook today and you're going to clean today, and it doesn't work that way. I have the authority, yes, to tell them, don't do this, do that. That is my authority as a parent over them. But I also have a responsibility to ensure they have a safe environment, to ensure they have food, clothes, get an education. That's my responsibility. If you look at it in terms of how companies are run, a lot of people just want the authority to dictate and tell people what to do, but they don't want any of the responsibility that comes with it. We need to shift that. That mindset needs to shift.
You know, one thing I love about you, Mishal, is that you're always so candid and personal. And we actually had a comment come in as well saying, you know, great views. Do you think that your views are reflective of society in general? And how do you think the government should look to support the momentum and provide support and a safe environment for women to learn the skills to be impact and influential? And what can companies do more of? So we've got three rather big discussion points there: society, government, and companies.
On the first point, I don't know. I can't answer that. Other people will answer that. I don't know if I am representative of others in terms of the way they think. There might be a lot of people who think along the lines that I do, but don't voice it. It's possible because it's maybe an unpopular point of view. But that doesn't mean just because they don't voice doesn't mean it's not there. Two different things. So I can't answer that question. I really don't have no idea. As far as the government is concerned, this country is, at least here in the UAE, this country is very lucky in terms of the leaders it has, because our leaders have discovered that this is something that benefits the society, and they're pushing it and they're emphasizing it. But even within an organization like mine, if I say, don't do this, you want to tell me the people who work under will not find reasons not to implement what I say and not to find excuses? If they don't like it, they're going to try their level best not to make it happen. You can try. The thing is, the more the significant society leaders, business leaders, political leaders, all the leaders that people think of, and we need to emphasize that, and emphasize that, and emphasize that, and emphasize that. The more we can do that, the less and less the naysayers have a space to voice their opinion, and they become less and less significant. And even their family might turn against them, which is, I don't mean turn again in a rebellious fighting way, but rather help them understand that these ideas are passé and they're gone, they shouldn't be applied. And new ideas in terms of saying, bring our daughters along, bring our wives along, bring our sisters along, let them be part and parcel of the environment, let them be part and parcel of the society, let them have a voice, let them help create. You know, the most important, if you looked at most family businesses, and whenever you read about family businesses, and family businesses are a microcosm of society as a whole in most countries, you will find that the most important person in a family business is not the patriarch, it's the matriarch. And the matriarch, because she sits in the back, and her job is to ensure that there is harmony within, and to ensure that there's as much as possible, a level of equality and level of camaraderie and togetherness. She does that. that's a skill that most, and I'm not saying all, but most matriarchs have. But she never gets what you call it, the publicity, etc. If you find a family business that doesn't have a matriarch sitting there, you usually will have a lot of men vying to be the patriarch, and men vie to destroy. It's a male trait. You have female who do that. You have women who do that too, but it's a male trait. They fight and vie to destroy because they want to end up being the top. The female trait doesn't necessarily mean that it's only women do this, but some men also do that. They vie to get a consensus, harmony, get people to get along, because the more you can do that, the better it is for whatever the organization is. And to get to that point, you have to have a lot of people buying in. In the first one, I don't need anyone to buy in. I need everyone to fear me. In the second one, I need most people to buy in, because that will be the stepping stone that moves them to the next stage. So what do we need? I'm seeing, at least on the government level, you see a lot of government entities because of their highnesses, both Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed and Mohammed bin Rashid, pushing this. It's sinking in. It's taking its time, but it's, as they say, Rome wasn't built in a day. It'll take its time, but it's moving in the right direction. You have a few really strong limelights who are sticking out. One of them that first comes to my mind is Sheikh Lubna, who, when she was the first one, what you call as a not only from the royal family of Sharjah, but also as a business person, and she helped grow DPW and part of DPW, and she took over the e-commerce part of DPW, and that helped a hell of a lot. Then she became a minister, that helped a hell of a lot. And again, you're putting the stepping stones that help do that seismic shift that we need to happen over a small period of time. Remember, and this is key, sand became sand when the waves crushed the mountain. And it wasn't an immediate crush. It's over time, a long, long time. Eventually, even that solid looking thing, which is a mountain that we think is never going to be crushed, becomes the brittle sand. It's just an issue of time and consistent and persistent advocation of an idea.
Step by step. I love that analogy. You've answered so many difficult questions, so I'm actually going to give you a nice easy one as the final question, because we do have 2 minutes left. You speak so inspiringly as a leader. So who inspires you? Which books, which individuals have had a strong influence on your own journey of leadership and learning?
Believe it or not, the strongest, the personality is the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet of Islam. And he was a leader for women's rights way 1400 years ago. And I'll give you small examples. Our society has shifted against it, by the way. And the book, for me, the most influential book for me is the Quran. And the reason is the things that are advocated in the Quran focus on the one thing which is very important to me, and very key, is the issue of justice. For those who are non-Muslims who might not know this, first, his first wife, Khadija radiallahu anha, was 15 years his senior. She, not him, she asked him to marry her. She was the breadwinner. She was the one who had the money, not him. He was employed by her. If you can see, and he, in one of the statements, to show you how much he wanted to apply the issue of female, what do you call it, the issue that female and male are equal in these things. And it's not because it's him telling it. It's again, it's an issue of belief. In this case, we believe that he is the prophet of God, and therefore God tells him what to do, what to do and what to say. And in this case, it's talking about equality in every aspect. You are the same. You are the same. He is repeating this. Yes, there are differences, or let's face it, physiologically, there are differences between male and female. And in terms of mindset, also, there's a difference between male and female. As a whole, we as a whole have a different mindset. But the idea is, in his case, the Prophet ﷺ, he's again advocating things that in his time were, wow, incredible. They had, sadly to say this, but in pre-Islamic Arabia, they had this horrible idea of female, what do you call it? When you kill a child after it's born. If it turns out to be a woman, a girl, they would bury her alive. Imagine the father burying his child alive because she's a female. And if he was told that his child was a female, he'd ashen, his face would ashen. It was that bad. It was such a misogynist, male-dominated society. And he comes and he says, that stops. You don't do that. You're not allowed to do that. And this is unacceptable. This is savagery. You don't do that. And he even went to the point that he said, there was a companion who was of the Prophet ﷺ, who was he heard the Prophet say that he who has two girls and takes care of them and educates them well goes to heaven. So the man was a bit sad. So the Prophet turns to him and says, why are you sad? He goes, I only have one. He said, even if you have one, it was not for the son. He's telling them, if you take care of your girls, two girls at the beginning, two girls, educate them, take care of them, build them as proper pillars within society, you go to heaven. It's not, the emphasis here was not on the boys, it was on the girls. So for me, I'm looking and thinking, well, if he is telling me that in a time when it was incredibly hard to say it, and I'm living in a much easier time, it shouldn't be that much harder for me to advocate that. So that's why, for me, the most influential person is the Prophet ﷺ, and the most influential book for me is the Quran.
Thank you so much, Mishal. And I know that you have two daughters as well. And just from this conversation, I mean, I really appreciate your candor and your humility and your integrity and everything you're doing here as well. So I'm sure you're passing those traits onto your girls. So you'll be going to heaven as well. So we are at the end of the session. Thank you everyone so much for your participation. There were questions that I did not get to, so I apologize for that. And thanks once again, Mishal, for your time today. Thank you to Aurora 50 for hosting us. And please, one more thing before I hand back over to Diana to wrap it up. Please don't forget to complete the feedback summary via the link on the left-hand side of the app, as this will help us shape future sessions. So thank you once again, Mishal. It's been really great speaking to you today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel and Mishal, for a very candid and insightful session. It's very enjoyable. Thank you very much for your time. And thank you both for the commitment that you've shown to the 2020 initiative. We're really, really pleased to be taking this journey with you. Our next session, for those of you who will be joining us for the networking tables, will start at 1 o'clock. To access these sessions, you will need to go into the agenda and to select the table that you're on. You should have been notified by the team about this. These were obviously very, very limited sessions, and so we appreciate that some of you may be a bit disappointed not to be able to attend today. We will, of course, be holding more of these sessions in future. For those of you not joining us for the networking, the next session will be the fireside chat with experienced female directors. That's taking place at 4 p.m. And just to make it easy for you, you can actually go into the agenda and you can save the sessions to your calendar. The summit is not a continuous stream. We don't want you to get technology fatigue. So this is the best way to make sure that you don't miss anything from today. Also, just a reminder, on the app, you will see that there is an opportunity to ask your questions. Obviously, some of you have already been doing that. we encourage you to do that. And also just to look at the 20 for 20 initiative, to learn more about the initiative, and obviously our partners and supporters. Thank you very much for your time today, and we look forward to welcoming you to the next session. See you soon.